tonight we have a kind of an interesting topic that actually came up by demand. And we have two wonderful presenters who are going to take a slightly different approach. They're both very experienced AAUW members. Ilga Ross is the co-president of the Tigard Branch. She's been the co-president of the Portland Branch. She's served on any number of task forces and committees, and she is currently the news communications director for Oregon AAUW. Linda O'Hara is a long timer. The first time I saw her at a convention about 7 years ago, I was just amazed that this woman could be so outspoken and make such good, cogent points. She's been a state president for AAUW. She's presided over several branches, and she just started a couple of years ago a brand new branch in Yamhill County, which I think is very brave and very wonderful. So Ilga and Linda are going to talk about how to rebuild your branch, but I think it's an important message for any branch president or membership person to hear. So, and then Linda is going to talk about how she started a brand new branch. So take it away, ladies.
Well, I think Linda is going to go first.
Yes, I was the appointed first, building from the bottom up. So I've been thinking about this, what to tell you about this. So if you find yourself in a place where there is no AAUW connections, or they had a connection and it went away, or whatever, you find yourself in a space, what are you going to do? And I suggest that you try to find out if there has been an active branch in the past. Are there still members living in the area that could help you? The key is you don't have to do it yourself. Find as much as you can about the community that you're landed in that doesn't appear to have AAUW presence. In my case, the McMinnville branch disbanded in 1998, much to everyone's dismay. Fast forward to late 2017, when I was contacted by a woman in our community who I happen to know, she's a real estate agent, saying, "Oh, I understand that you were once a member of AAUW, and I have recently moved here, and I think we should get a branch going." And I just kind of went, oh my gosh, okay. And so the short version of the story is that she started out in California, moved to Lake Oswego where she was a member. And then when she moved to McMinnville, she found out there wasn't a branch here. So she reached out to the state officers at that time. And I don't remember who was the membership chair, but she, of course, said, "Oh, have I got good news for you? There's still a very active member in the McMinnville community. Here's how you get in touch with her." So we started brainstorming about how we were going to go about doing this. And we talked to a lot of people. I reached out to a couple of the former members, and unfortunately, they were not interested at all, which broke my heart, but that's okay. So to make a long story short, so we can get down to the nuts and bolts of what you have to do, we planned, this was late 2017, early 2018, and we planned a let's test the waters and put it out there in the community and see what the interest is. And so we set it up at the public library. We publicized it and said what we had to say about AAUW. There was a branch here a long time ago, and there's a small group of people that would like to get one going again. So we set our sights at 10 people. If we could get 10 people to that meeting, sign a piece of paper that said they were interested, we would go forward. Well, guess what? There were 10 people exactly. And we didn't know what to expect. We had no idea. And just as pleased as punch that there were that many. One of those 10 was a former member that I hadn't gotten in touch with. I just randomly thought of some people and reached out. But anyway, so that began the process. And anytime you're ready, Nancy, you can put that information up on the screen for everybody to see. In 2 years, it was a process then. And what I have found, but I got no answers as to why, because the national office did not get back to me. And I have to give them a pass because they are busy, they're working from home, but it was still frustrating that the page that was available 2 years ago, almost 3 now, isn't there anymore. And it was called the Branch Creation Guide. Doesn't that make sense? Probably should have that, but it's not there. But this page has the information there with regards to what it is you need to do. And the step that's missing, and when you think about it, I think it's probably the reason why, what was kind of a pain in the you-know-what to do it. And there was a form that you filled out called the Request to Form an Affiliate Form. The Request to Form an Affiliate Form. I didn't stutter there. And you turned it in, sent it up ahead of time, and the board of directors reviewed it. I remember they called me to ask me some questions. It was about, you know, have you thought this through, the viability of it being successful, on and on and on. But the main thing that at that point in time is we found out that we couldn't be called McMinnville again. They thought it would fly with the IRS, but because it'd been 20 years, but they didn't want to take a chance. They didn't want to raise any red flags for us, red flags for the organization about this entity that was resurrecting itself from the ashes. You know, what kind of conflict would there be after 20 years? Who knows? But the national office didn't want us to go there. So we had to think of a new name. We came up with Yamhill County because it's more encompassing. You know, we've had people from the outlying areas, the smaller towns, join us. They didn't continue, but they did join us in the beginning. So all of that background, just to know that it isn't the same as it was 2.5 years ago. So as it says on this page, every branch needs to have an affiliate agreement on file. It's an IRS requirement because of the 501c3, C4 designations that the organization has. Can that get scrolled down? Can you? There it is right there. So you choose which one you are going to be. Most of us are 501c4s. And if you have issues with either of those, you can talk to somebody who knows more about it and what the ramifications are one way or another. But 501c4s, most of us are, and that hasn't changed. It's the exact same form that I filled out 2.5 years ago. And it just states your name, you agree to do all this stuff. It's really kind of a broad summary of the AAUW bylaws, so you understand the use of AAUW and what you can and can't do, and you agree to this and that and the other thing. You know, it's not comprehensive, but it gives you an idea of what you're getting into. If you've been an AAUW member before, you already know most of that. So someone brand spanking new, I honestly could not ever see that happening, you know, building a branch from the ground up if you had no knowledge, but I suppose it's possible. You know, I would hope that somebody who learned about us and we're in a community where there isn't a branch that had no knowledge of us would definitely use us, meaning the state group or former members or current members, as a resource. So but the very first thing you need to do, scroll down a little bit, Nancy. Oh, it's not there. Interesting. Okay. Well, in the affiliate agreement thing that says there that you need to file this, I think it says right there. Yes, it is. Right there in that last paragraph before the next steps. Each affiliate has to do blah, 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 and include the number that you got from the IRS when you were officially formed. So you need to apply for the employer information or ID number before you do the affiliate agreement. So that is, it's on irs.gov, you know, type in what you're searching for, EIN number, how to apply, and you just do it. It's a process, and it doesn't take anything except time. It's straightforward, pretty self-explanatory, and it's misrepresented by its title, employer identification number. You know, it should be just federal identification number or entity identification number, because anybody that has any business with the IRS needs one of those. So, so that's the first thing you need to do. Go to really irs.gov and get that number. And then you do this affiliate stuff. Okay. And once you get the okay from that, then you need to get all of those people that want to be a part of the group to pay their dues. You know, this is what I'm telling you need to do. Next steps, that's fine. I think that it should say, get people to pay the dues, then process the dues. Then you need to do the bylaws and the officers kind of simultaneously. So you need people to be members, and then you talk about bylaws and officers. That's pretty much what it is. And the time frame that it takes depends on the IRS getting back to you. That didn't take as long as they said it would. I would say it's no more than 60 days. And I imagine the national office would be on it with regards to if you made that application for a new branch. Oh my gosh, they'd be excited and get back to you. I don't remember how long that took. It was now a few weeks, maybe, no more than a month. And in the meantime, while you're waiting, no, you really need to wait until you get the official notice from them that you are a branch, because you get assigned a number. We are OR 0054. We're new. So that's what you use with correspondence when you are collecting dues. You send them in with the number and all the information of the branch so they know how to process it. And until you get members in there, they can't process anything online. Everything has to go in manually until you get some stuff going, until the branch gets set up and whatnot. So then the painstaking thing of creating bylaws, which isn't a problem because there are templates out there. It's called Keep It Simple. I had help from Claudia Gray and Betsy McDowell, the governance people, and I tried to use Corvallis's template, but that was a disaster. And so Claudia and Betsy pointed me to somewhere else. So we have the bare minimums of bylaws that make us enabled to conduct business. And then last but not least, officers. And remember that you only need a president and a finance officer. It was very difficult to get anybody to agree to do anything, mainly because they didn't know about the organization. I tried to explain it. I did get somebody, the woman that I worked with, Rosalie, she was our membership person. And there was somebody that became public policy. That was important. Haven't had a program, haven't had some of the other key things. And so, you know, what happens is the chairman, president gets all that stuff from the national office if you don't have somebody to get it sent to. So the other things that you need during the process, I recommend, is get a PO box for the branch and a bank account. And you can't get the bank account without the EIN number, by the way. So so the EIN number is key. Then you can get your affiliate agreement going, apply for a bank account. You need probably some officers, you know, it all comes together. So let me see if I have any other notes. No, I think that's it. Any questions? Anybody, did I totally confuse you, or is it pretty clear about what to do? I will say, while Nancy's maybe checking the chat room, for those of you that don't know, when I joined AAUW decades ago in this state, there was 45 maybe branches, and we all know that there's 20 some odd, you know, so there's a lot of communities ripe to maybe resurrect a branch, mostly on the coast. comes to mind, Newport, Coos Bay, North Bend, Curry County, lots of places on the coast that don't have branches anymore. And lots in Central Oregon, I know. Prineville's gone. That's where my first branch was Prineville, and it's no longer. Then Redmond's not there either, but there is, of course, Bend. So there's a lot of communities where people moving in, let's say, from somewhere else, from a different state, that might land and want an AAUW branch where there isn't one. And of course, there's the online option, which is perfect to get somebody involved with Oregon. But I still like the connection with people, and that's come more to play during the last 10 months, is getting together, having projects to work on, all the things that AAUW is known for to try to promote gender equity and fairness for women, which means fairness for everyone. So yeah, keep your ears open for people moving in that might be in a community where there's no longer a branch. This would be very beneficial.
Pat, why don't you go ahead and make your comment aloud?
Okay, well, I was just going to say, Linda, that I can see why if someone had never had any affiliation with AAUW, it would be rather daunting to try to start a branch in a new community, especially if you don't know that many people in the community. But I agree that there are quite a few areas around Oregon that we have a lot of influx, a lot of people moving in from, especially California, let's face it, where it might be ripe for starting AAUW.
Yes. And I think that starting a branch in a community that's never had one, I'm not saying it couldn't be done, but the aforementioned places that have had branches in the past that don't now, there might be some people still left there that would like to start it up again, which is what happened here in McMinnville. It would have been harder for Rosalie to do that if I still wasn't active, because my branch was Salem with a co in Corrales at the time. Since I've been retired, I don't go to Corrales all the time. I've dropped that. And I've changed my primary to Yamhill County, and my secondary branch is Salem. So, yeah, to have no experience, it would be daunting, but I would hope that they would do a little research and see a neighboring community, reach out to the state membership chair and get some assistance, because if you have a neighboring community, for instance, if another community wanted a branch in Central Oregon somewhere, I'm sure that the people in Bend would be glad to help them. Yes, Pat Lehman.
We have a question in chat first.
Oh, sure.
What activities have you been doing?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. We've had we do something in the fall and the spring. Maybe it's not important, but I'll still say it. We started with 20 people that first year. We had 10 at that first meeting. And then we had another membership thing in the fall of 2018. We got 10 more members. Oh my gosh, it was wonderful. But they've slowly dwindled away. And not surprisingly, they're the people that weren't active. They didn't come to any of the meetings. They didn't do any of our activities. So that was sad. But what we've done is we've done something major in the fall and the spring. And in the fall, we've had a guest speaker come in with an issue and invite the public. It's always at the library in the Carnegie Room here in McMinnville. And we've had good turnouts because we've had good speakers. It's just been wonderful. It's been wonderful. And then in the springtime, we partner with Linfield University, because our finance VP is a professor at Linfield. And I met her years ago when Linfield did a Start Smart workshop. So Amy and I already knew each other. So we have partnered with Linfield in a way that we were never able to do when we were the McMinnville branch 20 years ago. We could never, and don't ask me why, never get anybody from the campus or anything interested. Now, kudos to Amy. She found out about the Start Smart stuff, and I facilitated a couple of workshops. She also encouraged Linfield to be a CU partner, which they are. And so that has helped. There have been those key things that we couldn't do for whatever reason before. And so we partner with Linfield groups. Amy has, she's a philosophy professor, and she also is the advisor for SAGE, Students Activating for Gender Equity. Something like that is SAGE. And she does some gender equity studies classes. So we partner with them, and we've had speakers. We helped co-sponsor the movie that talks about the harassment, the issues in the military. What else did we do? We've done, Gender Equity Day in May. We did sell cookies for $1 to the men, and the women only had to pay 79 cents. You know, we've done those things. So let me think of what else. Oh, during the summertime, we have a booth at Farmers Market and hand out information awareness for AAUW. This last summer, I'm so proud, even though we had the COVID thing, the Farmers Market did really good, spacing out, less booths, but we had a voter registration awareness, and we had 18 or 19 people stop by the booth and register to vote on that day. Yes, very proud of that one. Unfortunately, that's the only main thing we've done during COVID was our voter registration awareness. We have not been able to do anything. We didn't do anything in the fall. We are hopeful with the vaccine being distributed and things turning the corner that we'll be able to have a regular membership drive community event in September again of this year. That's what we're hopeful for. Pat Lehman.
I hope this is not getting us off far afield, but I am curious, Linda, with a small group as you have, many of whom do not have a deep background in AAUW, how did you manage to achieve 4 out of 5 stars in the 5-star program already?
Oh, that is a good question. I don't think I said, we started with, we had 10 interested. We started with 20. Now our membership is 11, but they are a strong 11. Unfortunately, half of them, 5 or 6, not half of the person, but 5 or 6 are in retirement community here in town. So we haven't been able to involve them at all since March 10th. We get together on Zoom and they're all doing well, but they all feel so bad that they haven't been able to be active. So we are 4-star branch because we got lucky in the sense that we had done most everything before COVID hit. So all I had to do was apply and get credit for the things that we had done. And we have royalty in our midst at Hillside in the retirement community. We have 2 past state presidents, one from California and one from Washington. And they are my rock. But they have flat out told me, don't ask us to do anything very long, Linda, or don't ask us to do anything really big, but do ask us and, touch bases and stuff. And they are just hysterical. I love them to death. Without them, honestly, it would have been a lot harder. I'll be fair and honest. It would have been a lot harder. So the people on the outside, without their support, we couldn't have done the farmers market thing, a few months back. And that's what I told them. I said, I can't do it all. If you don't want to do this, if you think it's a bad idea, just tell me. Of course, I'll be disappointed, but hey, you have to buy into this. And so far they have, in fact, it's been their ideas. I'm not, believe it or not, everybody, I'm not a big idea person. I'm really not. I'm creative in different ways, but somebody gives me an idea and I'll run with it. So if you don't want the idea to come to play, then don't tell me, because you might regret that. So did that answer? I hope that answered your question, Pat. We honestly got lucky. We had done everything before COVID hit. So all I had to do was, take the time to make the applications and stuff. Yeah.
No, and regardless of when you did it or how you did it, it was great work, and we appreciate it.
Well, and I'm humbled by the fact, when I think about it, because we really only had, we really only had a year and a half. Yeah, we had a year and a half was all we had. And so I'm so proud of everybody. Yeah, they kicked in, so supportive. I usually don't, believe it or not, I usually don't say a whole lot at the meetings. I let everybody talk about what they want to do. And the thing I'm most concerned about right now, quite honestly, is, and that's why I'm looking forward to the branch president's meeting later this month. Two things. One is more member recruitment and officer training, succession. The one star, as you can guess, maybe that we don't have is the governance star, because we don't have a plan for who's going to take over. And everybody jokingly says, Linda, you're just doing fine. I said, the health of this branch is not going to rest on my shoulders. We need someone else to eventually be me. So I've got a couple of people in mind, and I'm subtly, giving them little pushes like a good leader will, giving them things to do, and they're coming through and building their confidence. And I know they can do it because I'll be there to help them, but they're not to the point where they feel like they could do it. I know they will, and I know they could, but I'm being patient, and COVID didn't help it, believe me.
Well,
We do have a comment from Ginny. Sadly, Linfield University did not renew their AAUW affiliation.
I already knew that because Amy's been working on it. Thank you for confirming, because the last time I talked to Amy, she was going to try to find out. The notice for renewal got lost, and so Amy's working on it. Thank you for confirming that. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Got to give time for Ilga. I've had my half hour, so I think it's Ilga's turn. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I'm muting.
And I am unmuted. And I want to thank you all for coming to this presentation. Hope you can find something that is interesting to you and helpful. I do have some slides, so let me bring those up and do a, whoops, that disappeared. Let me go with the Zoom thing first. I knew I'd have technical difficulties.
While she's doing that, I want to say that for anybody in the state, I would love to help and a mentor if anybody wants to take this on. If you want to create a branch in a community, don't do it yourself. You need somebody in the community with you, but reach out, please. I'll be happy to help.
Okay, let's see if I've got this going now. Come on. There it is. Can you all see this now? This is tricky. It's the first time I've ever done this. So, like most of you, I've been going through some old stuff, old files, old pictures, and I ran across this one. And this is from 1983. It's an AAUW of Wyoming State Convention. I barely remember the people, but I really wanted to know what was written on that newsprint up there. See the newsprint? Oh, that's kind of tiny. Well, there it is. It says, increase membership and diversity, increase visibility for AAUW, broaden member participation, develop comprehensive financial program for achievement of AAUW goals. So, as much as things change, a lot of them still stay the same, don't they? So now I think we still see that. So the topic is rebuilding a branch. So let's just start with what precipitated the vote to disband by Tigard Area branch members. They actually had voted to disband. Now, basically, the short answer is nobody was going to be president. They couldn't find a president. So I'm a dual member of Tigard, but at the same time, I was the co-president of Portland branch. And I knew the branch that Tigard was having some difficulties. But boy, when I got that phone call that the branch had actually voted to disband, that was kind of a shock. And I thought to myself, well, the branch has 35 members and nobody is willing to step up and take the presidency. Well, I didn't want, keep in mind, they had voted. I didn't want the branch to disappear. And basically, those of you who don't know, that's what happened to Beaverton branch. They could not find a president. They had, other officers and other interested people, but they couldn't find a president. So anyway, I thought about it. And I thought about, do I have the time and energy for this? Do I really want to take on this challenge? And so the next day I called the Tigard branch president and said, if your members will have me, I'll be your president. And so, of course, I took it on as a challenge. I knew there was a possibility that I couldn't succeed with it, but I did go ahead and take it on. Well, the first thing was to go through and reverse the vote. So this had happened in the March meeting. So in the April meeting, I went to the meeting and I said, if you'll have me, I'll be your president. So first we had to vote to reconsider. Helps to have a little parliamentary experience. So we did the vote to reconsider. Then we did the vote to disband, because you have to vote in the affirmative or whatever. So they voted nay on that. And then, of course, somebody said, oh, do we have a quorum? So we had to check the bylaws. Did we have a quorum? Could we really do this? And then we did the election, and here I was, president. So that's how that kind of process worked initially. So I think Pat Squire asked this at one of the sessions. Why do we want this branch? What do the branch members value most highly? What motivates them as a group? And they had done the year before, they had done an assessment. They had done the, what is most important to you as a group, where they put the newsprint up on the wall and wrote down all the things they did and gave everybody those red dots, and they put the dots up. And the thing that the branch members valued the most was the local scholarship. And they really, really wanted to keep that going. So that was the main thing. So ideally, you assess this in a group meeting, and you assess the strengths and weaknesses of the branch, and you can talk about what you need to keep going and so forth. But it just seems like there was a real shortage of time because, the year was moving on. And so I did my own assessment of what I thought needed to happen. So here's the immediate tasks. I had to get the members to renew. They had voted, kind of given up, instill confidence in them again, that really we could do this. We can have a branch. There's still a nucleus of people that had energy and enthusiasm. So I had to identify them and get them back together. And we had to improve the communication and coordination among the officers. The officers were filled. Each office had an officer, but it seemed to me, coming in pretty much from the outside, that that the branch seemed fractured. They really weren't talking to each other. There was no, it seemed like the glue between the different parts of the branch had disintegrated. And obviously that would happen with a lack of leadership, I think, that each thing would kind of try to continue to do their thing, and yet there was no cohesive work toward a goal. And finally, I wanted to strengthen links to state and national, because I think that is one thing that is kind of an indicator, the first indicator that your branch is not doing very well. If you kind of say, oh, branch, or, you know, state, what do they do? Or, oh, we'll go our own way. We won't do what national's trying to get us to do. We know our community, although you do need to know your community, but you really need to have those links to the umbrella organization. So do keep an eye on that. Well, there's some other things I had to look at. Do we have a copy of our affiliate agreement? Are the branch and the affiliate agreement, most everybody's is going to be dated 2009, because that was the year that national changed from a C4 to a C3. And we all had to redo our affiliate agreements at that time. And this would be, you can find this if you go on the member services database. Both these things, your bylaws should be posted on the MSD, and your bylaws would be dated 2016 or after, because that was also a year that they did a big review of what was necessary to be included. It was just a big overhaul. And so those two things you'll find on the MSD. So look for them. You might even want to print them off, and that's what I did, because I thought maybe we need to keep it. The next thing I looked at was, are we in good standing with the IRS? Well, shock, shock. No, we were a 501c4, but we had lost our IRS status because they had failed to file the income tax statement for 3 years in a row. Now, we were informed of this by the state finance person, but the branch treasurer said, well, we were going to disband anyway, so, you know, what's the difference? So she just kind of let it go. So she and I worked on that. That was one of the tasks that we did the first year, was we, from national, we got a sample from a branch that had been reinstated. And we kind of followed that. She put in the numbers, and I put in the mea culpa, I'm so sorry. And we were reinstated, so that was good. Are your bank signature cards up to date? Maybe you've still got somebody on there who was president 5 years ago. I would take a look at that and confirm that. I also would, Tigard Branch was not on the membership payment program at the time either, the MPP. So we had to sign up for the MPP to make sure that, of course, everybody has to have that now, but we didn't have that at that point. Well, the members, some of them, they said, okay, fine, we got a president now, and so everything will go on as before. And you start hearing things like, well, somebody ought to, or, you know, we used to. Well, these are all good ideas, but, you know, you look around and, okay, well, if it's a good idea, who's going to do this? Well, not me, not me. So we set those things aside and he said, well, those are really good ideas. We'll keep those in mind. And then there's always we've always done it that way. And I was not that terribly familiar with the way the branch had always done it. So I had to ask questions sometimes. And I did hear that frequently. We've always done it that way. Well, it comes with unspoken assumptions. And those unspoken assumptions, they can be useful sometimes, because that does keep the machinery kind of running. But it also ends up with a resistance to change. And of course, the resistance to change part of it is being afraid that if you change something, that it could be worse. Or, you know, and there's obviously that natural inertia. You know, we just don't want to change. We just want to have it as usual. So you run into those things if you're trying to do something. First thing I did was write a letter to the members. The key components were, hey, we've got officers. We're not going to disband. I'm excited to be your president. We can have a great branch again, but it takes you. We need the members. So I wrote that out as an email to everybody. And then I met with the membership vice president, and she and I came up with a strategy. We urge renewal using the usual strategies, you know, the notices and the ending up with the phone calls. Finally, let's get joined. And we got, you know, of the 35, we got 15 back right away, 18 and so on. So we did set a membership goal that we would have at least 25 members by the holidays. And we did reach that. So we were really happy about that. We had some new members come in. You know, some of the previous members, they just quit because they said, okay, well, I'm moving on. Or they said, I'm moving on to a different branch. And that happened too. So I did, we made up some postcards. You can get the blanks and just print those on your own printer. So we sent postcards to all the national members, the members at large in our area. We put forth a visibility campaign with bookmarks. We've been using these bookmarks. They're two-sided brochures, put them in libraries and so forth. I made up some business cards, and we started using flyers that went to libraries and other bulletin boards in the area. Like Linda, I have a form that I was looking for online, no longer exists. Create a recruitment plan, but I have it, and I'm very happy to share it. Just, you know, send me an email and request it. Here's an example of the postcard, and I'll just read you part of it. And this went to members at large, so they're national members already. So I said, as a national member, you support the AUW mission of advancement for women. You know, hook them, because they already have that in common with you. And then I went on and told them what the branch did. If you would like more engagement, then branch membership is the right choice for you. And then we invited them to the meeting, and this one happened to be on the new equal pay law. So it was I think a topic of interest. So those were the postcards. I went to everybody. I didn't get a big response, but you know, we got about 10% response, and that's not too bad for just a cold call reach. And 2 of those people did join the branch. So I thought that was pretty good. Then we did the business cards. Do you have a college degree, or are you a college student, is what the small print says. And this is where we handed them out to all the branch members. And I said, give these out. But we also said, you know, you're going to have something that you're going to say when you hand this out. And I had talked to a few of our people before the meeting formally started, but I said, you have to have an elevator speech. Oh, what's that? Well, that is what you say when you are between floors on an elevator and somebody said, and you're wearing your name tag, and somebody says, what is AUW? You know, what do you say? You only have a moment. And Linda was going to help me on this. Linda, what's your elevator speech? We can't hear you. Are you unmuted?
Now I'm unmuted.
Okay.
AAUW is a national organization that advances equity for women and girls with research, advocacy, and education.
Uh-huh. Okay, so now that sounds pretty canned, but that's fine, right? Probably
It tells it like it is, you know.
Exactly. But everybody should have one of these in mind, because somebody's going to ask you. I remember being out, we were in an interest group, a little field trip, and the young woman who was guiding us, she said, oh, who are you? Oh, well, we're a group from AUW. Oh, what's AUW? And I swear to you, all 3 or 4 other people in the group said, oh, Ilga can answer that. So don't make me the only one. Have your elevator speech. And again, you can just get blanks, and you can print these yourself on your own printer. and have them and get these things passed out. We did some other visibility strategies. We had booths at the Tigard Farm Market, the Tigard Street Fair. We used print and online news outlets. We'd already been using the community newspaper, and Judy Silverforbes here tonight, and that was a really great job on her part. We are getting excellent results nowadays from a platform called Nextdoor. I don't know how many communities have that, but we are getting drawing in people now from that platform. And we have Facebook, and their website is kept current with good usable information. We're lucky to have Rhonda Blanding, who is also with us tonight, and she does attractive emails, and the newsletters were very, very nice all along, and she continues to improve those. So that's part of it. Those are visibility strategies. Program and meeting logistics, take a look at that. You want it to be visible to the public, safe and accessible. The first year, it took me, and I'm kind of explaining to you what happened the first 2 years of my first 2 years of the presidency. The first year we were already in a public building, but sometimes the doors were not unlocked until 7 o'clock when we were supposed to start. The parking lot was kind of dark. It was accessible, but not very. So that was the first year. The next year, and it wasn't really by choice, but we ended up moving to the Tualatin Public Library. It is not free, but it is a really visible place. We have had members of the public at every one of our meetings that we've held there. Of course, it has handicap parking. It's well lit. So we're really in good shape there. We also talked about the meeting day and time. This branch meets in the evening, 7 p.m. on a weekday. We're meeting on Tuesday. When we moved the library, we had to change to a Wednesday. But we wanted it to be convenient for most members, but they liked the fact that it would always be the same day of the month. Now, the other thing that happened was her consideration. January and February, people didn't like to get out in the evening and go to the meetings, so the attendance was very, very low. And so therefore, we moved those to a Saturday afternoon. And we were fortunate enough to move it to a senior home where they had a wonderful theater facility. So we showed some movies. We had speakers. It was really, really good. There were people that came who were actually living there at that home. So that worked out very well. Cough drop, dry throat, sorry. One of the greatest strengths of this branch is the program planning. It was then, even when I started with them, it is now. In June, they held all-member meeting. It's led by the program vice president, and each member is asked to bring an idea for a speaker. The member suggesting that speaker knows that she's going to be responsible for enlisting that speaker and making arrangements and making it all work out. Of course, she works with the program vice president to do this. But what happens with this, the process encourages the member participation. So you've got, anywhere 6 or more members who are actively engaged and involved, knowing that they are going to be responsible for part of the program. And I just think the way it works really well. Judy Silverforbes is the program vice president right now. Judy, is there anything you'd like to add to this program planning? I guess not. I can't see Judy.
There we go. I can hear. I can speak now. I just think that the member, I'm always kind of nervous before the membership meeting when we're going to have the program, discuss the program. And this year, of course, it was done on Zoom. How are people going to show up? How many people will show up? And really almost the whole branch showed up. So that is just so exciting. And it's kind of like a brainstorm thing. And then we kind of narrow it down to what everybody thinks is going to be a good program for, and we do one almost every month. But yeah, I think and this is always, I mean, this is not me. This has always been what our branch has done, is have at least as long as I've known it. And I think it really works very well. Of course, I have to kind of keep after people and make sure it all goes well, but still, it definitely helps.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. Yeah, it really, it's the thing that impressed me the most about this branch, really. It was the thing that really, really works well. I mentioned that we had some flyers that we put out, and here's some examples of the flyers. These are templates that you can find on Word, and you can see that what I'd like to remind you of is that you have really strong speakers, more than likely, within your own branch. The one on the left was organized by Linda Liebenstein. She has her own business, and she tapped into her Chamber of Commerce people and did this panel for us. On the other one, the Empowering Women Negotiating Your Salary, that was done by Marcia Brockmeyer. Marcia was in management before she retired, and she had actually done this kind of training. So we print about 12, 16, 18 of these every month, and put them out around in businesses or libraries or other bulletin boards where they will accept them.
Pat asked that how many of these suggestions do you usually get, and how do you decide which ones to go with?
Oh, I'll turn that back to Judy. On that speakers, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, how does that work? It just kind of, everybody talks about them, and it seems like you feel like, well, this is going to work for this month, and that sounds really interesting, and it's doable, and it's kind of, that is sort of how it all comes to pass, that we get the program. But I mean, like the holiday time, we do normally have a holiday lunch, so that's kind of what we have then. And then we have a birthday month, and so then we kind of, that something happens then. So and then we want to be sure we have something really exciting for September. It's kind of, and something awesome for May. So I don't know, it just all kind of works out. We just discuss it. And
sort of an organic process. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is a committee process, a group process. We do sometimes get some suggestions that we've rejected, and we say, well, this really doesn't fit the mission. And we really do look at that too.
Yeah.
But, as I recall, there's usually been about a dozen suggestions.
And sometimes we'll say, well, I guess we don't have time, or that's not going to work out for this year, but we'll keep it for the next year. So people aren't shot down.
Yeah. At the end of the 2 years, we actually did have a great celebration, 40th anniversary celebration. We had it at the Summerfield Clubhouse, fairly luxurious place for us. We did an installation of officers. We had a buffet dinner that was free to the members. My point of view, and having been a finance officer, treasurer, a long, long time, I think sometimes the treasurer tends to keep the purse strings too tight. I think the reason that we collect dues is for service to our members. And if we can spend money on our members, we ought to do that. So this was really a great event. If you can see the small print, we installed officers. Marcia Brockmeyer and I became co-presidents. That co-president thing has really been my hope for continuation of officers and leadership. I got to admit, it hasn't really always worked out that way, but it's an attempt. So, oh, and we got this nice recognition by National for our 40th anniversary. So that was really a nice thing. There's two ideas from business that I think might work for us. Collaborative management. So we get this teamwork and unity going. It combines member strengths. And you're going to always have a nucleus. You know, if you think about your branch, you have a nucleus of people who really want to keep your branch going. And you need to keep that nucleus, whether they are actively doing something that particular year. Just make sure you keep cycling new people into that nucleus. But that, I think, is a good thing. Also, cross-training. Let's get the situation so that you have more than one person able to do a job. In this case, both Marcia and I are listed as president as well as finance officer with National. And so if she is vacationing or can't be reached or vice versa, somebody else is there to fill in. Our scholarship people work together, our fundraising people. We have a great fundraiser now for our local scholarship. I don't think I'm going to get too far into it. I know a lot of branches do have great fundraisers, but cross-training so that more than one person can handle it. What if we get sick? You know, that's not unheard of. Cross-training, you get better collaboration, motivation, your branch sustainability. It makes your organization more agile. Agile means that you can more easily adapt to internal changes as well as external changes. I know a lot of branches were pretty agile adapting to Zoom. We canceled the April meeting, but we were back together on Zoom in May. And that agility, that ability to adapt, I think is a real plus in keeping a branch going. And so I know we're going to have to run through this cycle again of strategizing, evaluating, and I think after this year, especially the Zoom year, we're going to have to do a lot of assessment. And thanks to Pat Squire, she put these words in one of our previous sessions. What's working? What's not working? What do we keep doing? What do we stop doing? And I'll add something else below there. Can you achieve that goal in a different way? You know, at the beginning, I brought up that idea of, oh, we ought to have that new member champagne brunch. Well, what's the purpose of that? Well, the purpose was to orient new members and to make them feel special. So I think in a way we did that. We started off with a great panel discussion. We had Kathy Dew, Trish Garner, Claudia Gray, and the state membership vice president. And I think I remember back then, that's probably 3 years ago, I said, man, that was a great meeting. I know more about AAUW now than I ever knew before. So that accomplished that piece of a goal of orientation. And then I think that celebration of that birthday party certainly achieved the valuing and the appreciation of our membership. So, well, I've done all the talking pretty much to this point. So if you have questions, please ask. I'll get out of this. Stop share. Aha, got it. I've left you speechless.
Ilga, I want to comment that a lot of the things that you brought up with revitalizing and bringing Tigard Area back together were a lot of the things that Yamhill County did in the beginning too. You know, we had to figure out what our identity is and what's our purpose and what do we want to be to this community and how do we want to go about doing that. So there's a definite link between the things that you said and what a new branch goes through also. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to keep reinventing yourself. You know, don't let yourself fall into a rut. Keep thinking about how do you keep this thing going? And like I said at the beginning, things have changed, but a lot of things haven't. I think there was a comment.
So Ilga, I'll just say that every branch needs to think about these things, not just a branch that's waning. I think we all need to think about it. And we all usually have some kind of planning period in the late spring and June when new officers are coming in. And we need to look at these kinds of things. It should be a habit that we keep reviewing and looking at new ideas. So thanks for that. Good session.
And Bev made the comment. Bev, you can talk if you want, but thank you for mentioning a membership plan. This is critical for a membership chair.
Yeah, thank you, Ilga, so much for doing that. And as you were talking, I went back and revised and looked at what I wrote in 2016 for a membership plan when I was membership VP of my home club, my home branch. And it was extremely helpful and tying it in and seeing how to do that. Thank you, because I see a lot of people who do membership don't really think of the plan and what the board is going to do for that year. So thank you so much for bringing that to our attention.
There's just so many pieces to coordinate, you know, there's a lot of pieces to coordinate. I don't, you know, I keep thinking that hierarchical leadership really doesn't work because you don't get the kind of support you need as a president. You really need to have that collaborative leadership going on with your branch.
Ilga and Linda, thank you both. A lot of these things are things that we're going to be discussing with our branch presidents. Membership recruitment and retention are two things that are really, really weighing heavy on all of our presidents' minds from around the state. So you've given us some good input, and I appreciate your thoroughness and the way that you've organized the structure today. Very helpful, very impactful, both of you. Thank you.
Any other questions for either Linda or Ilga? Thank you both so much. That was great, inspirational for the rest of us. Linda, keep up the good work. And you too, Ilga. Glad you have a co-president now. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Our next session is going to be
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday, January 14th. Can you believe it? January 14th. And it's about the 5-star program. And it's the one branch in the state that does have 5 stars. It's Ashland, which is one of our larger branches. And again, it's not just about 5 stars. Like if you're not really interested in 5 stars, fine, but listen to how they applied it to their strategic plan, because that makes a lot of sense. And I think Linda will agree with that. So if you think, oh, 5 stars, well, think again, because it's an important way to structure your branch and hit all the notes that you want to hit. And be strategically thinking. So that's my pitch. Nancy will be sending out a reminder, and I think it would be a good thing for branch presidents to attend as well. So good to see everybody. Starting to see some very familiar faces, but always some new ones. And it's great to have Catherine Hojam, our president-elect for our Lake Oswego branch. She's going to be a great new leader for us. So thanks, everyone. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you all.
Nancy keeps this all together.
And then I send you all away. Goodbye.
Bye.